Story 1. In a small village nestled in the mountains, there lived a wise man named Arjun. He was known throughout the land for his profound wisdom and thoughtful words. People from far and wide would come to seek his counsel on matters big and small. One day, a group of villagers gathered at Arjun's humble abode, eager to hear his thoughts on a pressing issue that had been troubling them. As Arjun sat by the fire, listening intently to their concerns, a loud voice suddenly interrupted the peaceful atmosphere. It was Ramesh, a young man known for his impulsive nature and quick temper. "Why do we need to listen to this old man?" Ramesh exclaimed. "I have plenty of ideas of my own. Why should we wait around for his so-called wisdom?" Arjun calmly looked at Ramesh and smiled. "A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool because he has to say something," he replied. The villagers fell silent, pondering the words of the wise man. Arjun continued, "When we speak without purpose or thought, we risk causing harm and misunderstanding. It is important to consider our words carefully before sharing them with others." As the conversation unfolded, Arjun shared stories and parables that illustrated the power of thoughtful communication and the importance of listening before speaking. The villagers listened intently, soaking in his words of wisdom like a sponge soaking up water. With each passing moment, it became clear to everyone present that Arjun's advice was not just about words, but about the intentions behind them. It was about fostering understanding and empathy, rather than simply making noise to be heard. As the sun began to set behind the mountains, the villagers thanked Arjun for his guidance and wisdom. Ramesh, who had been skeptical at first, approached the wise man with a newfound respect. "I understand now what you meant," he said. "I will strive to be more mindful of my words and actions in the future." Arjun nodded approvingly, his eyes twinkling with a hint of mischief. "Remember, Ramesh," he said with a smile, "a closed mouth gathers no feet." The villagers chuckled at the wise man's humor, feeling lighter and more at peace than they had in a long time. As they made their way back to their homes, they reflected on the lessons they had learned from Arjun and the value of thoughtful communication in their daily lives. From that day on, the villagers made a conscious effort to speak with purpose and intention, remembering the words of the wise man who had touched their hearts and minds with his profound wisdom. And in the quiet village nestled in the mountains, the echo of Arjun's words lingered on, a reminder of the power of thoughtful speech and the importance of listening before speaking. Story 2. In a small village nestled among rolling green hills, there lived a wise old man named Masterly. People from far and wide would come to seek his counsel, for his wisdom was renowned throughout the land. Masterly was a man of few words, but when he spoke, his words carried great weight and insight. One day, a young man from the village approached Masterly with a question that had been weighing heavily on his mind. "Masterly," the young man began, "I have heard it said that a wise man speaks because he has something to say, while a fool speaks because he has to say something. What does this mean? How can I become wise like you?" Masterly regarded the young man with a smile, his eyes twinkling with wisdom. "Ah, my young friend," he said, "the saying holds great truth. A wise man carefully considers his words before speaking, for he knows that words have the power to heal or to harm. He speaks only when he has something of value to share, something that will benefit others and bring clarity to a situation." Masterly paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "On the other hand, a fool speaks impulsively, without thought or consideration. He feels the need to constantly assert himself, to make his voice heard above all others. But in doing so, he often reveals his ignorance and lack of discernment." The young man nodded, his eyes wide with understanding. "So how can I become wise like you, Masterly?" he asked eagerly. Masterly chuckled softly, his voice gentle but firm. "Wisdom is not something that can be acquired overnight, my young friend. It is a journey of self-discovery and growth, a continuous process of learning and reflection. To become wise, you must cultivate patience, humility, and an open mind. You must listen more than you speak, observe more than you judge, and above all, you must strive to always speak with integrity and kindness." As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the young man followed Master Lee's teachings with diligence and dedication. He spent hours in quiet contemplation, meditating on the meaning of his words and actions. He sought out opportunities to help others, to share his wisdom and kindness with those in need. And slowly but surely, he felt himself growing wiser, more attuned to the world around him. One day, as he sat in the shade of a towering oak tree, the young man looked up to see Master Li approaching. The old man's face was lined with age and wisdom, but his eyes sparkled with a warmth that filled the young man's heart with joy. "Master Li," the young man said, rising to greet him, "thank you for guiding me on this journey to wisdom. I have learned so much from you, and I am forever grateful for your wisdom and kindness." Master Li smiled, his gaze tender and wise. "You have learned well, my young friend," he said. "Remember, true wisdom is not a destination but a way of being. It is a deep wellspring of compassion and understanding that flows through all of us, connecting us to each other and to the world around us. And as long as you continue to seek it with an open heart and mind, you will always have something valuable to say." With those words, Master Li turned and walked away, leaving the young man to ponder the depths of his wisdom. And as he sat beneath the oak tree, surrounded by the gentle rustling of leaves and the sweet song of birds, the young man felt the truth of Master Li's words wash over him like a cool breeze, filling him with a sense of peace and purpose that he knew would guide him on his journey to wisdom for the rest of his days. Story 3. In the village of Eldoria, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, lived a man named Elias, known for his wisdom. His words were few, but each one carried the weight of years and the depth of contemplation. People often sought his counsel, for they knew that Elias would speak only when he had something meaningful to share. Eldoria was a place where stories were told and retold, where every evening the villagers gathered around the central fire to share their day's experiences and learn from one another. It was during one of these gatherings that a young man named Gareth began to dominate the conversations. Gareth was eager to be heard, and he spoke at length about every topic, whether he knew much about it or not. He craved attention and validation, often repeating himself and speaking over others. One evening, as the village gathered, Elias noticed Gareth's incessant chatter. Gareth was discussing the recent changes in the weather, claiming that he understood the patterns better than anyone. His voice grew louder as he spoke, his eyes darting around to ensure everyone was listening. The villagers, polite and patient, listened with growing discomfort. They respected Gareth's enthusiasm, but were beginning to tire of his relentless need to be heard. Elias decided it was time to impart a lesson. He waited until Gareth paused to take a breath and then gently raised his hand. The villagers fell silent, their attention shifting to the wise elder. Gareth, somewhat taken aback, stopped speaking and looked at Elias with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Eldoria," Elias began, his voice calm and steady, "has always valued the power of words. Words can build bridges or walls, heal wounds, or cause them. But there is a profound difference between speaking because one has something to say and speaking simply to fill the silence." The villagers leaned in, sensing a story coming. Elias continued, "Let me tell you about a time, long before any of us were born, when Eldoria faced a great drought. The river dried up, the crops withered, and the animals grew thin. The villagers were desperate for a solution, and they turned to two men for guidance, Oren, the wise, and Talon, the loud. Talon, Elias said with a slight smile, was much like our friend Gareth. He spoke often and loudly, convinced that his words alone could summon rain. He led rituals, shouted at the skies, and demanded that the villagers follow his lead. But the drought persisted, and his words became a hollow echo against the parched earth. Oren, on the other hand, observed and listened. He noticed the patterns of the birds, the movement of the winds, and the whispers of the ancient trees. When he spoke, it was with a quiet confidence, and his words were imbued with the wisdom of careful thought. Oren suggested the villagers dig deeper wells, plant drought-resistant crops, and conserve water meticulously. His ideas were simple but profound. The villagers, tired of Talon's noise, decided to follow Oren's advice. They dug deeper, conserved wisely, and adapted to the changing climate. Slowly but surely, the village began to thrive again. The rain eventually returned, and Eldoria flourished, not because of loud proclamations, but because of thoughtful actions guided by wisdom. Elias paused, letting the story sink in. The villagers nodded, reflecting on the lesson. Gareth, his face flushed, shifted uncomfortably. He understood the message, but Elias's eyes were kind as they met his. In our village, Elias concluded, we need both enthusiasm and wisdom. Gareth, your passion is valuable, but it must be tempered with thoughtfulness. Speak when you have something meaningful to share, not simply to be heard. In this way, your words will carry the weight they deserve. Gareth nodded slowly, humbled by the gentle rebuke. From that evening on, he made an effort to listen more and speak with intention. He sought Elias's guidance and learned to observe before he spoke. The village noticed the change and began to appreciate Gareth's contributions, now marked by thoughtfulness rather than noise. Eldoria continued to thrive, its tradition strengthened by the balance of wisdom and enthusiasm. And Elias, with his quiet words and profound insights, remained the heart of the village, teaching by example that a wise man speaks because he has something to say, while a fool speaks because he has to say something. Understanding of this saying, the aphorism, a wise man speaks because he has something to say, a fool because he has to say something, encapsulates a profound insight into human behavior and communication. Let's delve into the underlying reasons and implications of this saying. Understanding the wise man. 1. Thoughtfulness and reflection. A wise person carefully considers their words before speaking. They understand that words have power and consequences, and therefore, they choose their words with precision and intent. This deliberation often stems from a place of deep reflection and understanding of the subject at hand. A wise man speaks when he has a well-formed thought or insight to share, ensuring that his words contribute positively to the conversation. 2. Value and substance. When a wise man speaks, his words carry weight and substance. He focuses on adding value, whether through imparting knowledge, providing guidance, or offering a unique perspective. This approach ensures that his contributions are meaningful and impactful, fostering a culture of thoughtful dialogue and mutual respect. 3. Listening and learning. Wise individuals are also excellent listeners. They understand the importance of absorbing information and learning from others before sharing their own views. This humility and willingness to learn enable them to speak from a place of informed understanding, making their words more credible and respected. Understanding the fool. 1. Impulsivity and ego. A fool often speaks out of a need to be heard, driven by impulsiveness and a desire for attention. This compulsion to speak can stem from a place of insecurity or an inflated ego, where the act of speaking itself is seen as a means of validation. Without careful consideration, their words may lack coherence, relevance, or depth, leading to empty or misguided contributions. 2. Noise over substance. Unlike the wise, the fool's words often do not add value to the conversation. They speak for the sake of speaking, resulting in a lot of noise but little meaningful content. This can lead to frustration and disengagement among listeners, who may find it difficult to extract any valuable insights from the fool's ramblings. 3. Lack of listening and understanding. Fools often prioritize speaking over listening, missing the opportunity to learn from others. Their need to dominate conversations can prevent them from fully understanding different perspectives or the nuances of the topic at hand. This lack of understanding further diminishes the quality of their contributions as they speak without a solid foundation of knowledge. Implications for communication. 1. Quality over quantity. The saying emphasizes the importance of quality in communication. Speaking less but with purpose and depth is far more effective than speaking frequently without substance. This principle is applicable in various contexts, from personal relationships to professional settings, where clear, thoughtful communication is valued. 2. Building respect and credibility. Individuals who speak thoughtfully are more likely to be respected and trusted. Their words are seen as reliable and insightful, enhancing their credibility. Conversely, those who speak without purpose may find their credibility eroding, as their contributions are seen as less valuable.
3. Fostering meaningful dialogue.
Encouraging a culture where people speak because they have something valuable to say promotes meaningful dialogue. It creates an environment where ideas are exchanged constructively and conversations lead to growth and understanding. This is particularly important in collaborative settings, where effective communication is crucial for success. Conclusion. The wisdom encapsulated in "A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool because he has to say something" serves as a timeless reminder of the power of thoughtful communication. It underscores the value of speaking with intent and purpose, highlighting the profound impact that well-chosen words can have. By embracing this principle, individuals can foster more meaningful and respectful interactions, ultimately contributing to a more thoughtful and engaged society.